Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to this episode of Walking the Straight Path. I'm your host, Feroz Abdul Rahman. This show is going to try to answer one question. Is following this religion of Islam easy or difficult? Well, to help us answer this question today, we have a number of guests with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to you all. Well, what about you, Brother Ismail? I know it's been a long time, 16 years, mashallah, but do you remember what brought you to Islam?
I was introduced to Islam through music and the current trend at the time. And actually that was the first time one of my friends gave me a book about Islam. And I said, okay, let me take some time out. I wouldn't say I was like in the depths of depression, but after partying, you can only party so much, you can only drink so much. Okay, what is life about?
It changed.
And I think every human being has a time where he has to reflect. Whether it be the most successful person, the richest person, the glamorous person, everyone has a heart, everyone, is a human being. It's whether or not they're brave enough to say, okay, let's stop and think about it. So if people can just step back from this worldly, situation and think, they'll find the answer.
Then what's stopping them then? If you're saying if all the brothers seem to agree on the fact that it's common out there, everybody's suffering from this, if you can call it suffering, I would call it suffering, not knowing where you're going in life, what you're doing. What's stopping people from actually taking that step then?
Well, I think it's two things. The first thing is lack of information about which way to go, because people do revert to other religions too, and they think that this is success. So it's lack of information of the right path and the distortion of the right path. And we grew up watching things like angels talking on someone's shoulder. So when you talk about Islam, people's like, this is all fairy tales, what are you talking about? So they distort the truth and the image. And the other thing would be, you can say that these people have desires which they're hard to suppress, like, oh God, I can't have sex before I'm married, oh, I can't do, it's too much. So it's lack of information and desires which take you away from...
I think also the individual, he has to be a strong person. He has to be able to stand on his own 2 feet and make decisions. Irrespective of what his family on, the religion of his father or whatever, he's got to think for himself. He was born by himself, he will eventually die. So someone has to have he has to be a bit brave, to take that step and say, okay, this is the truth, I'm going for it, whoever doesn't like it, it's tough.
But do you think this media bombardment of what they call negativism about Islam, do you think that's actually affecting people and driving them away from Islam?
Yeah, definitely, because you have to understand how much impact they actually give out this false information, and people who don't get the right information accept what they see. If we sat in a room with scientists and they said to us, there's oxygen here, we would say, what are you talking about? But we still believe it because we're breathing, and we accept that whatever you call oxygen is what's keeping us alive. And if you say Islam is the truth, you say, what are you talking about? You understand? Because although there's one truth, there's so many falsehoods surrounding that truth with similarities, with names of prophets, names of stories, which are very similar. So they say, how can we know that this is the truth?
Brother Hans, did you find that after September 11th, you did start to get a lot of information about Islam? Did it put you off all the negative aspects that they were portraying?
In general, I was very skeptical of what the media says before Islam, and so as far as what happened, I didn't really give it too much thought, in all honesty. But in general, one thing that is amazing that I've noticed is that after what happened is that a lot of people have become Muslim.
That's what I agree with the brother.
And although I've noticed too, it's creating a stronger reaction amongst certain people, where there are people who are displaying their Islam, whether it be a sister dressing as she's required to dress, or a man they assume to be Muslim, even if he may be a Sikh and he's wearing a turban, and they're harassed because they're supposed to be Muslim, they're one of them. But alhamdulillah, on the other side, many people are talking about Islam. And I think it's sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's one of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when certain non-Muslims work against Islam, Islam will spread. And I'm noticing that.
That's true. I've noticed that as well, that although the media bombardment is not helping, but however, through it, Islam is growing even stronger. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that they seek to put out the light of Allah with their tongue, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who makes the light get stronger. So when people watch these media bombardment, they want to find out, what's this Islam about? Many times on the da'wah table, where we talk to people about Islam, people come in a rage and they're vexed, like, what is this religion all about? When you explain it to them, they find Islam is actually contrary to that which they thought it was, you understand?
Yes.
And they become Muslim through that. So the media bombardment, in some cases, actually getting people to know more about Islam, you know, so it's not stopping people from becoming Muslims.
I met a student here in Egypt. He's from Germany. After September 11th, he went and bought a Quran. He said, I've got to find out about these mad Muslims. What they're doing. What, does their religion actually teach them this? This is from 9/11. So he read the Quran and he became Muslim. Okay? So I mean, what other more proof is that, you know?
And I've heard the statistic where, I mean, everybody quotes it. They say the media tries to focus a lot about women and how women seem to be oppressed in Islam. Yeah.
That's the easiest target.
Yeah, but it seems like the women are the ones who are coming into Islam the most.
I think after September 11th as well, it was a reminder to the Muslims that they have to carry this message. Although this is creating a lot of confusion amongst Muslims, I think more than non-Muslims. The non-Muslims I found in America were very skeptical of many of the comments that were said. And I found them to be, most of them, to be receptive. Although they had a very strong reaction at first, at least in America where I'm from, I was able to reason with them. And I found them to be objective and they would be willing to listen. But within the Muslims, I found we need to carry the message forward and correct these.
Because obviously now the spotlight is on us.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to carry the message properly.
True.
It's true.
It's we're responsible now.
So I don't want to take us back, but the issue of women, they tend to concentrate on women a lot more. Because with the men, when they become Muslim, they don't tend to stand out so much. You could still, you know, in some sense of the word, dress like the norm of the society. But our women, they tend to stand out a lot more. So that's why the women, they tend to stand out more and they bring the issues of women and Islam is oppressive to women and so on and so forth. But with that, because of the dress of the women, a lot of women actually becoming Muslims more because of what they call oppressive. That there's a Sudanese brother in a council in London somewhere, and his wife used to wear the full hijab, even the face veil, you know. And one day, this lady came and knocked on the door, his English neighbor. And she said to him, what religion orders you to do something like this, you know? And he said, we're Muslims, we believe in Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. So she said to him, your religion commands you for your women to dress like this? He said, yes. After that, immediately she took her shahada, you know?
MashaAllah,
Yeah.
that's quite strange. SubhanAllah. Did you think to yourself, if I become Muslim now, I'll have to dress up like that, or if there's a woman that becomes Muslim, she'll have to dress up like that?
I mean, some women kind of like feel like if I cover myself up, how would my beauty be shown? And they face that task of also maybe in a non-Muslim life they have verified the experience of partners and finding a good happiness, and they think, well, if I'm gonna take on a life with God, I still want to get married. So they still want to have some leniency in terms of showing their beauty, but that might be what they face at first. But after some time, with the right knowledge and the right environment, you find that this is protecting the woman, because you know the abuse that the minority of non-Muslims experience through not trusting their partners, cheating on them, catching diseases, and all these forms of protection, is due to the fact that the woman was exposed and she was actually making a call through her dress code. She was actually making a call. In the West now, a woman would now wear a miniskirt. Before, a miniskirt was filthy and not approved of. But now, if you went to an office and you're rich, it's okay.
Well, I guess what's happening is society is moving in two different directions. On one hand, you've got...
Sign of the times. As people forget God, they forget themselves, they lose shyness, and you know, there's no rules and regulations. Like, as it goes, I said, no, the miniskirt was something which was for a party. But now it's like, it's everyday 9-to-5 dress. That's because they've lost their shyness.
So this didn't actually put you people off Islam. You thought to yourselves, actually that's possibly a good thing to have modesty, and to actually, you know, modesty is a part of human beings naturally.
I mean, I actually said, I'm not getting married. I said, well, what's marriage? Just a piece of paper. You know, if I like someone, I'll stay with them. If not, I'll leave them. When I became Muslim, I said, I need to find myself a pious Muslim woman. You understand? So, alhamdulillah.
And did you find that? Did you find a lot of people finding it difficult to let go of this path with women? I know we're concentrating on women.
Yeah, this is very difficult. I mean, it's one of the natural instincts of every single man. That's normal. That, you know, they're attracted to women. And you know, like our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that the biggest fitna or the biggest tribulation for men is women. So a lot of people find it difficult because before becoming Muslims, you know, you talk to girls, you shake hands with them. And then, you know, you can't shake hands suddenly, you can't free mix with them. So this was a very difficult thing
but
for most
still,
people.
they came into Islam. I'm going to hold you off at that point, Brother Ismail. We're going to come back. And when we come back, we're going to talk about more difficult issues that people have before becoming Muslims. So don't go away. Please stay with us.
Islam is my side. Islam is my side.
Welcome back to The Straight Path. Brother Ismail, you were telling us about how you have seen people attracted to this issue.
Yeah, I've seen that because the media try to portray the issue of women as a negative one. So when the women actually read about Islam, what Islam says about the women and why the women have to dress in a certain way, it brings them even closer to Islam. And you find that the ones that understand Islam very well, even after the second day, they adopt the full dress. Now there's a girl, at that time I wasn't really practicing Islam properly, and she used to ask me about Islam and so on and so forth. And one of the issues I found the most difficult to talk to her about was the issue of the hijab, how the Muslim women should dress. I thought that would come at the end. I came to college the next day, and I came into the library. And I found in the library the full Islamic dressing. And she said, I took my shahada. And she wore it immediately. And she actually enjoyed wearing it. Although it's not like that for everybody. Some people find it more difficult than others. Not because they don't believe in the principle, because of the reaction of the community towards them. But the principle itself they believe in, and they want to dress like that. So on this particular point, I would like to say the sisters, the reverts, that have come to Islam and they're wearing the hijab, they've done very well because the men don't stand out much. But they have to stand out, you know, and they've been very strong in doing that.
I agree with him.
With women, it's an issue, but what about with men? Did you feel that when you were going to become Muslim that you would be forced to wear the beard? Was the beard something that was putting you off?
As for myself, no. I mean, when I first became Muslim, I didn't really know anything about Islam. And it was only a few months afterwards that I started to learn, and I grew a beard. I had no problems. I went through the same challenges, for instance, mixing with women, shaking hands, how to deal now with my female cousins, something like this.
That's the most difficult.
But again, from my experience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it very easy for me, and He's given me many opportunities to correct whatever mistakes I have made. It gets easier. Once you set that boundary, and once you develop that, whether it be putting a piece of paper in your hand so you can't shake her hand, usually it becomes easier with time. It becomes much easier.
Any other issues that you think holds people back, either from stepping back and thinking to themselves, I'm kind of lost, I have no direction in life, or something that's holding them back from Islam itself?
Knowledge. I think knowledge is a major factor in a Muslim's life. Someone thinking about becoming a Muslim and a non-Muslim. What you know and what you don't know is a big difference. Because if you don't know how to walk. And when you know how to walk. You're on the same earth, the same environment, the same planet. We all live on the same planet. But knowledge puts the light on to show you a direction. And without knowledge, there's no light for you in the sense that you can choose wherever you want to walk, but you don't know if it's the right way. So you might meet somebody and you have a bad experience, and that's your experience of life. Whereas Allah invites you to a knowledge that will continuously be with you consistently to always guide you to what's good. Even that the salah of istikhara, I find like this in itself, the fact that it's been prescribed for Muslims is one of the greatest blessings of being a Muslim. That my action, whether it's good or bad, whether I make a mistake or experience something difficulty, this prayer will help me accept that this judgment, whatever befalls me, is meant to befall me.
So, brother says it's about actually finding out. You've got to take that step. You've got to go ahead and try and find out.
It's true. I mean, I find that in different societies. For example, in the Western society, the issue is not issue of knowledge. It's more issue of time, finding that time, like Ismail was saying, to ponder and think.
Ponder, yes.
Because what happens, you go to work, come back from work, the TV's on. You don't really get that time to ponder and wonder, why am I here? Why did God create me? Whereas when I was in Africa, for example, went there for da'wah, it's an issue of knowledge. Because the media is not so vast in Africa. So what we found, when people took the effort to go and give da'wah in these villages and spread the knowledge to people, we had a situation once in a place in Kenya called Nyeri, a mountainous area, where the majority of the people are actually Christians. When the person turned up to come and give da'wah, he turned up at this place, the sheikh, he couldn't even speak. He just burst into tears at the amount of people that turned up and actually became Muslim immediately. So when they go to these villages, they don't get like 1 or 2 shahada, they get hundreds of shahada in a single day. You know, you get old people, young people, and so on and so forth. So it's 2 problems. First, knowledge, and the second thing is find that time to ponder and think. If people found that, and that's what Allah many times in the Quran, do they not ponder? Do they not think?
My point is that in the West, all around the world, but specifically the West, they're busy with the material aspects. Okay, you know, the bombardment from the TV, the advertisement. It's like a conveyor belt life. Do you understand? They come home, sit down, put on the TV, watch EastEnders, go to sleep, and it's very difficult to come out of that because what's everyone else gonna say? But you know, people have to get hold of their life and make decisions. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they just go with the flow. They don't want to stand out. Okay, and really, they are like the Walking Dead. They're doing what everyone else is doing. Get hold of your life and make decisions, obviously based upon knowledge. You understand? They then have to start opening books. The thing is, people don't read these days. They're just like couch potatoes in front of the TV. They need to get hold of life and make decisions.
Do you think family plays an important role here? Where would you, you know, as many people I know from the Asian community, they're afraid of their father. Do you think with other communities it's the same, where they're afraid of their families, afraid of getting cut off?
Pressure is on everyone. It may be someone, maybe his family, it may be his boss at work, it may be even his wife. He said, if I become Muslim, my wife's going to leave me. Do you understand? So everyone has their own situation.
So what would you say to someone like that?
To rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if one has the basic belief of a creator, a sound understanding of God, and as they learn about Islam, they should take the step. They should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who sends the rains. He's the creator. He's perfected everything. He showed everything a way of life. The bird lives as a bird's to live. An ant as an ant is to live. It has an organization. And this is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with Islam, it's important, I would say, to be with a good community. Surround yourself with strong people, Muslims, to help you. But to rely on that, to know and to have faith. Just as He has certainty that the sun will rise and will set in certain places. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that sets the laws of Islam.
Did you find that when you came into Islam you found a sense of identity, a sense of belonging, a sense of community, or do you find that when people become Muslims?
I found that a sense of belonging, a sense of a community, that you belong to something. And this sense of belonging is not like in the fashion world, for example, that you want to wear, you know, certain brand labels to belong to a certain society. The beautiful thing about this particular thing, sense of belonging, is that it's with your fitrah, your natural inclination, that your natural being tells you this is the right thing to do. So you're actually doing it from the bottom of your heart, and you feel happy doing it. You know, so I would advise the new Muslims is that, like I said, that they might find certain things difficult, but they should know, whoever fears Allah, يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Allah will always make a way out for you. And if you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will be enough for you. So it's those things, it's a natural thing, like having the beard, the hijab, you know, it's with your natural inclination to do good, you understand? So it was a good thing.
And then do you find that when people become Muslims, they get the support that they need?
It depends where they first start to portray their Islam. You see, normally in certain parts of the European world, when people become a Muslim, they tend to hide it because, you know, they think, hang on a second, my family's not Muslim, my mom's not Muslim, so let me kind of like portray this in a slow way, let me get strong. And they hide it for a while because they got this, whether it's stigma or idea that I cannot dare to say this. So they hide it. But if it's something that is acceptable, like for example, your dad has a Muslim name but he doesn't pray, and your mother has some heritage to do with Islam, you kind of like got a path to walk on.
It's easier.
You can say, well, I have so much belief in this, I'm going to correct them. But for other people who's been seeing a lot of very un-Islamic behavior, total opposite to, it's going to be a totally new thing to the family, they're a bit more afraid to walk. And, you know, it's very more difficult.
It is more difficult, but with the strange thing with certain Muslims, very few of course, it's actually more difficult than new Muslims. Because you get Muslims that are not practicing Islam, for example. So a non-Muslim, when he goes to his parents, I'm a Muslim now, his father thinks that's a good thing in the sense that you're going to give up alcohol, drugs, partying. He doesn't realize the other sense it comes with. But a Muslim thinks, This is a new religion. I'm a Muslim. This religion you're practicing is not our religion. So for some people, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But in terms of support, like from the community, there's two types of support. There's the non-Muslim and there's the Muslims themselves. In terms of the Muslim community, yes, there is some kind of support, depending, like the brother said, where he started practicing, of course. You understand? Like, if the society, for example, is not multicultural, it is a lot more difficult. Because unfortunately, certain societies tend to stick to their own racial, community.
Their beliefs,
you understand? Which is very difficult for new Muslims. But if you're in a multicultural society, is what happened to me when I first started practicing. Alhamdulillah, there's a lot of youth in the mosque, so we find it very easy. And everything which I gave up, I found better. Before Islam, I had friends. When I started practicing Islam, I had brothers, which is better than friends.
From my experience, when you become a Muslim, you have to practice the religion. What you put in the religion is what you will receive, you'll get back. In my community, you have to be active, you have to go to the mosque, meet the brothers, have dinner at people's houses, go to the lecture. This is when you start living Islam, you get the benefit, from it. You may find some people maybe a bit shy. Obviously, people need to look out for people who are new Muslims and invite them and say, sit down with us. But my advice, anyone who becomes Muslim, become proactive. And then mashallah, doors will open and it's a new.
And we want to do that. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I'd like to go around to each one of you brothers and let's try and get something out of this. We've talked a lot about what it's like to be before someone comes into Islam, or if you're a Muslim out there, then you're thinking about, the way I am now. What's in it for me to become Muslim? So once they become Muslim, what's out there? I want everyone to summarize for us and, tell us what you think you've concluded from this episode. We'll start with you, Brother Hans.
I mean, looking from my experience, it was just, everything came down to the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
In my community, there weren't very many Muslims, and I didn't know very much about Islam myself. But whenever I was faced with something difficult, if somebody said, for instance, you have to leave off alcohol, you have to leave off pork or something, whatever it happened to be, and I found it to be a challenge after I became a Muslim. In the end, I told myself this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I trusted in Allah. I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created me as I am. He knows what's best for me. If I don't understand it.
That's the point. You see, it's not about hijab, it's not about leaving pork, it's not about alcohol, it's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what life's about. Brother Ismail.
Myself personally, I found the greatest thing. Like the Muslim scholars used to say that the people that engrossed in worldly things, they left the world and they didn't taste the sweetest thing in the world. And they asked him, what is this? He said, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Again, that's
what I found. To know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the greatest thing.
That's the point. And what about you, brother?
I found many things, but overall, what I can say, the outstanding things, is also the love of Allah and also the trust of Allah. Because these two things, holding hand to hand, there's nothing that can match it.
That's what everyone's saying, brother. It's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's that belief. Do you agree, brother?
I can't even try to think of any other definition. Trust and love in Allah, it upholds every single thing.
Yes, brother.
I would say quickly that life is a balance between material needs and spiritual needs. And we have to get the balance. Once we've got the balance, then we'll reach true happiness.
Inshallah. So until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now I found the light after those long dark nights. Now my world is bright. Islam is my sight. Now I found the light after those long dark nights. Now my world is bright. Islam is my sight.